So, if you've had your ears to the ground, you've heard a lot of the issues and a lot of the, I don't know, news cycle or whatever surrounding the Mortal Kombat 11 release. Right now, the game has actually dropped in price. Crazy. The game dropped in price like 3 days after it was released. Good thing I didn't pay full price for it. Never do that. And I'm quite surprised that it did so. And I think what was happening, even though I heard from somebody saying that the one of the big old suits there in WB Games said that, oh, the Mortal Kombat had the best launch of all the other Mortal Kombat games. I don't know if that's the case. I think when it launched, they had some things that were intended for the game to look like, but the community kind of pushed back on some of their practices. So the developers have actually taken a step to make amends and keep their fan base actually happy. Now, I wonder why this is not in the news cycle, which makes me question the motives of those who are actually, putting out the negative news about the game. You're trying to hate bait. That's what you're trying to do if you're not going to report this. So I'm going to give them time and just wait for them to see if they can do a full circle and report this new change. If not, then all that there is for is the hate clicks. That's just my opinion. And I feel like they need to be fair in their argument and in how they actually bring this to light to their audiences. And so the developers came on their stream the next day, and they eventually addressed a lot of the issues. They talked about giving a bunch of rewards to their community. There are these point systems that they use when you do some things. You earn rewards as you're playing the game, and they're gonna give like 500,000 of these points to I don't know, remember what it is, to everybody, and that's coming in a patch update. But that's not necessarily the point. I think the point is this: the developers seem to have maybe been influenced by publisher mandates. The publisher probably saw an opportunity there was some kind of in-game economy, and probably kind of pushed to see if they could monetize that in-game economy. And apparently that did not go well with the community, and the community pushed back, and they actually came and, had a sit down in front of their stream. They had notes and everything. They were very fidgety. And that fidgety thing that I saw was how uncomfortable they were to have seen the negative reaction from their community that they actually love. That's the thing about it's a fighting game. There's not a big crowd for it compared to maybe like a shooter that shows up, where Apex Legend is getting Apex Legend at one point got 20 million people that had played the game, or a game like maybe Fortnite, where there are millions of people that still play and people still participate in that in-game economy. So they know that they're in a delicate situation. Mortal Kombat does not have a big audience like many other games, and it's a very select niche, and so they cannot afford to leave their player base, hanging. Those are the people that pay their paychecks. So in my opinion, I'm really proud of them that they've taken the steps to make things right. Sometimes, people make decisions and they don't necessarily see how much of a backlash that can actually bring forward. I think sales numbers were probably not strong. That's one of the reasons a game will lose like 10%, almost 10% of its cost price almost immediately after launch, is because I think sales are probably not good, or they're probably trying to leverage more sales on top of the initial sales that they've already gotten. I don't know. But that's just not a great sign from the financial perspective. And I think the developers had to run in and do some quick crowd control in order to make things right. And then another thing that I wanted to speak about is how developers are not the best salesmen. I think what's happening in today's world with, the developers actually talking about not putting specific dress codes in the game, the way they addressed it with the fans, I don't think developers are salesmen. I think developers need to be able to learn that skill. I'm not saying that they can't learn the skill of being good salesmen. I'm saying they need to learn that skill. I think many times developers may take their work and their art to a personal point where, they take pride in their work. And if they see, people in any way push back, they may see it as a personal attack. And so sometimes they attack personally. That's not the way to go. If you're going to sell a product because that people's paychecks, and it's the developers that still suffer, the other ones around. If you see that people's paychecks depend on your work and how you interact with the community, then you have to do it in a very specific way. A lot of people are saying that, Melina fans were mocked and all that stuff. I mean, I don't think Ed Boon mocked Mileena fans. I think he's just a very jovial guy, and he was just playing around. And I think they're still probably going to bring the Mileena that everybody's wanting to die about. I think they're probably still going to bring her and just eventually silence everybody. I think at some point, sometimes if the developers decide to make and in the story mode, she doesn't even fit there in any way based on their story. So I'm really, in a sense, quite pleased with how they're handling things. Warner Brothers still tries to test the waters. I think that's what they're doing. I think the developer may have pushed for these things. That's a developer. The publisher may have pushed for these things, and they're seeing the backlash, just like they did with Shadow of War. They will continue to do it every time. They'll continue to test and see how far they can go and how much they can get away with, or maybe make something super obnoxious in order for them to dial it back to exactly where they wanted it to be. But as they're doing that, it's going to be affecting sales, and I guess they need to understand that they're in such a small niche that it makes no sense for them to do that. Anyways, that's all I wanted to put out there. And I guess for those of you who are interested in Mortal Kombat, you can check out my other channel where I actually put out that content. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.